So we've got like 45-ish days left of 2025, which is mind blowing. And I was thinking this morning about what you can accomplish in that amount of time. And I mean, you can solve a government shutdown in about 40 days. So you have plenty of power to do something amazing in what is left of 2025. How will you really make those 45 days count? Finish 2025 strong and head into 2026 with the right mindset. And you got to have the right tools to make it happen. Q4 can be a top prospecting season, but many of your peers, many other advisors are really spending this time checking out, taking longer vacations. I can tell you though, top producers do not. I am Laura Garfield. I'm co-founder of Idea Decanter, a video marketing company for financial advisors, and I'm here today with my co-founder Sharon.
Hi, everybody. And we are so excited to have Erin Botsford once again join us to share her wisdom. The last time we had her join us, I think she just blew the charts off of any of the webinars we've ever posted on YouTube. So super famous. If you haven't met her, she is the advisor, author, and trainer known as the Advisor Authority. She has been 31-year veteran of the profession. She was named Barron's Top 100 Advisors list in every category: advisor, independent, and women. And after successfully selling her practice in 2017, she now helps other advisors like you model her success through her Elite Advisor Success System. Training program. Sorry, that's a lot of words. She's also the author of Seven Figure Firm, How to Build a Financial Services Business That Grows Itself. Erin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. And I see a lot of my students on here. So shout out to my Botsford buds.
We are thrilled to have the Botsford Buds in the house, some Idea Decanter clients. It's great to see you guys. Erin, you've been at this for over 3 decades. We've been at this for over a decade with advisors, and we have talked to plenty of them over the years who seem to grow their businesses effortlessly. And I ask them, what have you done for marketing? What have you done for business development? And they look at me and say, well, word of mouth has really worked for me. It's been the referrals. That tune seems to be changing, though. Is it still that easy?
Oh, I don't think our business is easy at all. I think what ends up happening, I was doing another podcast this week and I was asked a similar question. And I think what ends up happening is advisors typically get stuck at some level, and it's really based on their current set of skills. And the current set of skills they have brings them an equivalent amount of confidence. And so, if you want to grow your business, there's two ways to grow your business. Is let's say you want to double your business, take on double the amount of clients like that you currently have, or increase, the net worth or the AUM of fewer clients, right? And so most advisors, if they were honest with themselves, would say, well, I think I'd rather work with $1 million set of clients than a $500,000 set. Or I'd rather work with $2 to $3 million clients than $1 million clients. Well, the nice thing is it's easy to do, but it requires a different set of skills, because elevating your skills will then automatically bring you a new set of confidence to approach prospects that are, let's call it just outside of your reach right now. So I think that honing your skills, and as you know, I teach advisors how to move up market. And, to your point, one of the most important things when they finally get to a prospect is to have a really solid founder's video, which is what you guys do. And so, it's got to be, if you're in kindergarten or first grade or a senior in high school, the quality of the work that you present to your instructor, in this case, the quality of the appearance that you have and you present to your prospect, will directly influence whether the prospect is going to hire you or not. And so what I love about what you guys do, and you understand the importance of a founder's video. I teach it in, every single student that comes through. Last week, they all heard it again. We had our mastery call, and I'm like, guys, I'm only talking about this founder's video because it is critically important to the outcome of that first meeting. And I'll just go on and support what you do, Laura, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And the way I teach advisors to approach clients is, yes, you are going to have to ask them some pointed questions about the current situation. And I used to think, well, how dare I ask you about you and your financial situation without revealing something about me and my background? And so, I used to tell my story, and as you guys know, I've got a sordid story, and it could last forever. I mean, I could talk about myself for 30 minutes, and it's like blah, blah, blah. And I notice advisors, they know they need to tell their story, and they might talk about themselves for 10 or 15 minutes. It's a lot more and the big problem, Laura, is if they start talking about themselves, and I always tell them, you want to tell about something, maybe a challenge. You had something crappy that happened in your life, but then demonstrate how you overcame it, because overcoming adversity is still very much appreciated and applauded in our culture. The problem when they try and do it themselves without a founder's video is they can accidentally, let's call it, leave themselves in a mud puddle. And they talked about this challenge they had, but in the height of this prospect meeting, maybe they're a little nervous, they forgot to pull themselves out of the mud puddle. So as a result, what ends up happening is the prospect looks at them and thinks, poor judgment. And talk about a deal killer. The first meeting and the prospect, because is left with the thought of poor judgment, you're never going to get that deal. So I always talk about, what I teach is a formula. They have to be greeted and seated in the proper way. The woman has to sit at the head of the table, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a formula. It's like baking a cake. If you're going to bake a cake and you leave the eggs out, you're not going to have a cake. I believe that if you want to have a very successful first meeting close, there are ingredients to that process. There's ingredients to it. And one of the key ingredients is being able to tee up a founder's video. So I'm your biggest fan, your biggest cheerleader, because it is the eggs in a cake recipe. You leave those eggs out, you leave the eggs out, it's a flop. That's how important it is.
We want this souffle to rise and not fall. And we have a lot of questions for you. I know Sharon's got one queued up. I want to let the audience know that we are not going to be stopping in this 30 minutes because it's kind of a tight presentation for your Q&A. But if you do have a question for Erin, we invite you to stick around. We will have her here for a few minutes after the call ends to get your one-on-one questions answered.
Well, I love what you said, Sharon. Oh my goodness. More coffee. I love what you said about having this formula, because I think everybody's looking for that silver bullet, and having a checklist or a protocol or a method just makes things easier and takes a little bit of that intellectual weight off of every single thing. Mm-hmm. I know people come to us like they're always asking for like some kind of ROI on video, but you have this predictable and repeatable system for really converting prospects to clients. Mm-hmm. I've heard this method described as bulletproof. So can we just dive in a little bit deeper into this method of yours?
Yeah, again, it's been tried and tested. In fact, it's so funny. I've now coined a new word. I'm Glenda the Good Witch. Do you remember what Glenda the Good Witch did? Glenda the Good Witch in The Wizard of Oz. What did she give Dorothy? She gave Dorothy anyone want to say?
Didn't she give her the slippers?
Yellow brick road, right? Follow the yellow brick road. And so I provide the advisors through, it took me 3 decades to figure out what I teach, and a lot of missteps and a lot of no's from prospects. And so what I was very good at was diagnosis. And so when you diagnose, every time you have a prospect meeting, if that prospect does not say yes to you in the first meeting, You have to diagnose what happened. And the nice thing is I can give you the exact steps that need to happen. And I can be 1000% certain if you missed that one step, that's why they said no. Okay. It's just a very predictable format. And it's worked not only for me now, but for thousands of advisors. And so do you want me to go through a few of the steps, Sharon?
Yes, that would be
Okay.
amazing.
So again, what you have to realize, this is everything I teach is psychology. It's basic human psychology. I closed 95 to 90, probably 95% of the new prospects that I closed them without saying the word investment. Because what I do is prospects come in, first of all, it's a very, having a prospect meet with an advisor, it's a highly tense situation because other than the spouse, the person that you meet and you marry or live your life with, who you hand your money to is the scary proposition. So they're always on edge. Okay. Even if it's a referral, they're on edge. And what they're doing is they're looking for reasons to say no to you. Number one thing, they're looking for any reason to say no to you. So you can't make a mistake. You have to have steps to follow. So we teach a very specific greeting system. The clients must be greeted within 2 minutes. You take their drink order, you place their drink order where you want them to sit. You always sit the woman at the head of the table. You seat the man on the side of the table when he's looking at you. There's nothing behind you to distract him. Okay. Why do you seat the woman at the head of the table? I see my students on here. Every one of them could answer this question because ultimately she is your buyer. 100% of the time in a, male-female situation, the mistake a lot of advisors make is they meet with the CFO for Toyota and they think he is the decision maker in that family. But anybody who's ever been in a committed relationship understands one thing, and that is a woman in a relationship, she has a superpower she can use at will. And that superpower is she has absolute veto power. So if you leave her out of the conversation, if you talk down to her, if you whatever, by the time she gets to the car and closes the door, you are history. So how do we prevent that from happening? Well, you put her in a position of honor. You include her in the conversation. In fact, you talk to her before you talk to her male counterpart. He is not your decision maker in any of the time. He's not. Okay. He may retain some power too, but he doesn't retain absolute veto power. She's the only one in that situation that has that. So you don't ever want her to exercise it. So then there's steps. How do you get her to sit at the table? She's not going to gravitate to that place. There's so many nuances in there. And then the next thing you do is I could close any prospect. I've closed $100 million prospects, and all I know about them is their names and the names and ages of their children. That's all I need to know to close a prospect of any size. And so, sometimes people would come in and like this, I don't want to be here. I'm not going to tell you anything about myself. Okay, I'm still going to close you. And so, once if I have a little bit of information, that's great. If I don't, then I would, in my case, if they don't have a founder's video, I would tee up the conversation saying, you may be wondering how I got in this business and why I'm uniquely qualified to do your financial planning. That was eliminated a long time ago. I never had to do that. That would be when I would typically tell my story. But truthfully, guys, I got tired of telling my story. My story is not very interesting to me. And so I got a founder's video. I've had 3 iterations, probably starting 20 years ago. And they each got better and better. And I honed the message a little bit. But typically, in my case, somebody from my staff would tee up the founder's video even before I walked in the door. I want them to already, it's kind of like, I wrote an article, and this is really terrible, and I hope you guys forgive me, but I wrote an article. It was called Get Naked First. And again, we're going to ask them to proverbially undress before us and tell us, what have you done with your working years? What have you done with your life? What have you accumulated? What problems do you have? We're going to ask them all these questions, and we're going to literally ask them to kind of undress in front of us. How dare we do that unless we tell them a little bit about ourselves, which is where the founder's video comes in. So again, it's all very formulaic. And then I have what I call my approach talk. I tell people, I know most of the advisors that you have probably met with before, they start off in the discussion in the area of investments and retirement planning. I think that's really important. But in our practice, we start off in the area of risk management. Now, why you might ask? Because it's our belief, whether you have $1 million or $10 million or anywhere in between, if an event happened, and let me assure you, those events happen in a split second of time that would cause you to lose all your money, then I don't really care how your money's managed. It's just that much more for you to lose. So in the spirit of that, I'd like to ask you, mind if I ask you a couple of questions about your current situation? And then I go in and I start using what I call my disturbing track. So again, all very formulaic. You ask this question first, then you ask the second one, then you ask the third one. By that time, you should be done. They should be alarmed, and they should be thinking, oh my gosh, nobody's ever asked me these questions before. How come? How can we get that fixed? If we work together, certainly we can get that fixed, and you have a new client. So again, it's simple, easy, it's formulaic. If you don't get a yes, all you have to do is look back and say, which step did you miss? It's
The
great if
fun
you can even record it, because now you know what step you missed.
the fundamentals of your approach talk absolutely mirror the fundamentals of marketing. I mean, the best marketing is what helps people connect to you because it's what they care about and what they're worried about. It's what keeps them up at night. And so that approach talk is exactly in line with the things we talk about to be good content for your videos, and that, talking a little bit about yourself, because stories are what make us memorable. And when someone walks out of a meeting, they're going to remember a lot more about how you made them feel.
Yep.
And that can easily be tied into a story. It's funny for me to hear you say, Erin, that your story is boring to you or it doesn't interest you, because I've heard your story and my eyes popped open and I thought, I feel like I know Erin better. I respect her more. I trust her more. But I can see when you have to repeat your story over and over and over that it becomes a little, trite for you. So I definitely get that. But let's talk about the idea of structuring a founder story and using it. Uh, there are two different ways to kind of put it into place, right? You can either have someone from your team sit a prospect down in your conference room and then have them press play on your founder story, or you can send it out in advance. Have you heard from your Botsford buds if one way or another works better?
Um, I would say if you're going to have an in-person meeting, first of all, I always require that if there are two people that are going to be affected by the planning we do, they both have to be there in the first meeting. If they both don't show up, I cancel the meeting. It's that important. Because typically, it could be, again, one of the decision makers is missing. And especially if she doesn't show up, there's no chance I'm doing that meeting. She's my buyer. I don't want to do the meeting twice. If he shows up, we can reschedule the meeting at a later time. But I like, if I have an in-person meeting, I like my story to be told 16 seconds before I walk in the door. So again, the idea is to know, like, and trust you, right? That's one of the purposes. We're trying to build a foundation of know, like, and trust. And so it'd be really nice to have that teed up 16 seconds before I walked in the door. If that's not possible, then, I've done it two ways. Sent my founder's video out ahead of time. Let's say we're going to do a Zoom call, or even better, I've had my staff person start the Zoom call, wait till they're both sitting there, and just say, Erin will be in shortly. Before she gets here, she'd really like you to, listen to this video. And then they tee it up before I enter the Zoom call. So three different really ways. The one that you can't, I don't like just emailing it to them you know, and guessing whether they listen to it or not, because I think it's such an important part. It's one of the most important steps of the process. So I'd rather ensure that they're both on that video and somebody tees it up before I walk. It'd be really odd for me to tee it up. Like, that would be odd. So
Let's watch a little bit about me.
yeah, let me tell you about me.
Well, I like that. And to tee up a short clip from one founder's video, just so everyone on the call can get an idea of what yours could look like, we wanted to share this story from Lynn Berry of Keystone. And Lynn was Erin's student, and 5 years ago, she came to us hearing Erin's message and wanting to create a founder story video. And what I think is most relevant here is that 5 years later, Lynn is still deploying this in her process with new prospects. So let's take a look at a short clip from this video.
Planning is fluid, it's dynamic, it's a panoramic view of your life. Think of it like a tapestry. Weaving a tapestry is no easy job. You've got to have the right threads in the right order and make sure that the picture or vision is actually what unfolds. For us, understanding your values and your vision takes time. And once we can see your real picture, well, then we can find the right threads and weave your tapestry together. How do we accomplish that? Well, it comes down to three things: our people, our practice, and most importantly, our process.
And I will say she goes on to do a little bit more of like her own sort of personal story, but I wanted to choose this particular clip because Erin might be sick of her story, but I know when I was trying to write my sort of why story for a speech that Laura and I were doing, I struggled because I've had a pretty cushy life. Like I haven't had anything drastically crazy happen to me. And if that feels like you, finding a story that you can weave a visual analogy to makes your video memorable. Now, I haven't seen that video in a couple of years, but I know two things about Lynn from her video. One, the tapestry story, and that she likes green juice. So finding those nuggets of fun little anecdotes that you can weave into your story will just make people be able to call those stories back to life, even if it's been 5 years since they've seen it.
Yeah, I think it's those details that make you relatable. So the telling of a story, the sharing of some personal information is one thing, and then also, making people see, oh, well, I know Lynn better, or I know Sharon better, and that is what psychologically begins to build trust.
And what I love is that we shot that remote with a phone and gear we sent Lynn in her office. Like we didn't have to fly out there, make a mess out of the office for 3 days to create this video.
Erin, any advice you would give folks on this call who are thinking, well, I want to, put together my own story to put into this approach talk process?
Yeah, that would be the worst advice I could ever give them, is write your own story. Now, sometimes if you want to write a first draft and then give it to a professional writer, give it to you guys, that's fine. I can tell you, this is not a place to cut corners. Again, there's never a second chance to make a first impression. And so if you're going to spend money on your business and helping to grow your business, get a first class, you want to make sure your story is honed. And again, I've seen advisors will say, hey, will you review my story? And I'll it's like 19 pages. And, once I got through their reading about their third divorce, I was like, I don't think that we need to share everything about what happened in our life, right? I mean, maybe that's not. And so we really think, and I don't know what your opinion is, but a 2 to 3 minute video is about all you need. We live in this digital age where, our prospects have the attention span of a gnat. And, we're so used to getting short clips of everything. So I think it needs to be so concise. And again, the founder's video is formulaic too, right? You have a formula for it. And so if you stick to the formula, it will likely have the impact that the advisor is going for. If you're out there winging it, I've seen videos that have come in from advisors who had gone through my program and they had a founder's video already. Well, first of all, it was 12 minutes long, and they're like, oh, and then this happened, and then that, and they were just winging it. And I'm like, pal, I would never do business with you. I mean, I want clean, concise, precise, systematized. I'm looking for, like Lynn said, process. She was one of our students, right? It needs to be part of your overall process, and it needs to be as well done, as well articulated as it can be. It's a first impression. It's critically important.
And the first 3 seconds are crucial.
Yep.
You said we have the attention spans of a gnat, and it's true. I mean, a decade ago, I would have said your why story, your founder story should be 3 minutes. Now I would say it should be 90 seconds to 2 minutes because our attention spans are shrinking. But if you are using that video in multiple ways, or if you are emailing it out to a prospect before they come in for a first meeting or before they get on a virtual meeting with you, they will make the decision about whether or not they keep watching that video based on what is said in the first 3 seconds. And the biggest mistake you can make is introducing yourself. You really have to think about what will grab a viewer's attention and then spend your story speaking directly to that individual viewer. Because for us, watching a video is really, a one-on-one experience, even though Erin records her story and knows that thousands can watch it. It's really only one person watching it at a time. So just having the right language that connects with your viewer and grabbing their attention from the get-go so they keep watching. So, Erin, you've said prospects who feel connected engage deeper and faster. And knowing that, what can advisors do now to not just finish the year strong, but to go storming into 2026?
Well, I think that a lot, but the first thing is, I think a reality check is in place. If you want to have the same year in 2026 as you had in 2025, if you're perfectly content and you're happy, then keep doing the same things you've always done. If you want to have a different year, a higher level year, then you typically need a new skill set. And I think, Laura, you wanted me to talk about the training that we're doing on
Yes,
Thursday.
we have
So
a
just for those of it, I see a lot of our students here and they don't need to come to our training. They've been to all of our trainings, but Thursday from 10 to 2, we are having a 4-hour masterclass, and I'm going to go through in detail every single piece of this formula that we're talking about, because I'm hoping that whoever's on this call, if you could just think, who is your average client in 2026? I want to double the amount of revenue or double the AUM that my next average client brings me. I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, it's going to take a new set of skills, because that new set of skills will bring you a new sense of confidence so that you can approach those people. So if you're at the $1 million level, learn a skill set where you feel uber comfortable at a $2 to $5 million level. If you're at a higher level, everybody on this call is perfectly capable of meeting with and closing a $5 or $10 million prospect, just like this. This is like taking candy from babies. Maybe you don't feel that way right now, and so you tell yourself a story. Well, there's no $5 million clients where I live. Well, that's just not true. My mentor from 1997 lived in a town called Quechee, Vermont. In 1997, her minimum financial planning fee was $14,400 in a town of about 900. So wherever you live, there are people that have more money than probably the people that you're currently working with. And they're also willing to pay for your advice. I train advisors how to charge financial planning fees that are separate and apart from a product sale. Why? Because I'll say the last piece of it. When prospects come in to meet with an advisor, in their minds, there's a hierarchy. They hold their attorney up here, their CPA here, the Mercedes dealer here, and then us. That's just the way it is. I teach advisors how to position yourself with the skills and with the confidence that comes with skill, how to put themselves on par with the most highly trusted advisor, the attorney, and have really amazing conversations. And then you identify that there's some potential vulnerabilities, issues in the prospect's life. Oh my gosh, what's it going to take to fix these? Like, what they're really asking you is, what's your financial planning fee? And then you say, oh, I work for free. What you've done is now catapult yourself down to where they thought you were in the first place, because highly valued, highly trusted advisors do not work for free. So you can get by with, not charging financial planning fees, I'll say in the $1 to $3 million cases. But if you do want that new level of skill, accompanied by the confidence, and you do want to meet with 3, 5, $20 million clients, they would expect to pay for your wisdom and your advice separate and apart from a product sale. So again, you guys are welcome to join us. I'm going to spend 4 hours of my time on Thursday. There's a QR code on the screen. You can sign up. We're charging people $47 for a general admission, and I think another 100 there's an additional amount for VIP. But because of my relationship with Laura, we work together and we go, let's get this training done, and it's going to be free to anybody that signs up using this QR code. So I don't do free very often, but because of my relationship with Laura and Sharon, we wanted to offer this as a gift. And if you want to make 2026 be considerably different than this year was, I would highly recommend that you go to your calendar, set 4 hours aside. For the VIPs, you're going to get the replay, the workbook, you're going to get all your questions answered live, etc. So Laura, thank you for being able to give this gift to your people. It will be, I promise you without a shadow of a doubt, it will be an absolute game changer for those people who attend.
Value packed. Thank you for sharing it with the audience. And on the QR code train, we have a QR code too. If 2026 is going to be your year of checking off the box of it's time to create my founders video. If that is your intention, this is a great path to get that done. You can follow this QR code. Make sure to mention that you are an Erin Botsford fan so that we know the kind of video you need to create to work into your approach talk process and have success in 2026. One last preview. Our next exclusive Finfluencer event is coming up in January. We're going to be talking about trends in advisor video that will define 2026. We have watched video drastically change in 2025, and there's a lot coming. So we're excited to talk about that. Mark your calendars for January 14th. And if you're on this call, you're going to get an invitation. So thank you so much for joining us today. Erin, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. And if you're on the call and you want to stick around and ask Erin a question, please do so. Thanks so much.
Any questions?
There was a whole bunch of stuff in the chat. I haven't had a second to get in there.
And feel free, Derek, thank you so much for keeping the chat alive. If you are still in the room and you have a question for Erin, you can open up your mic, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I love that.
Erin can answer for you.
I feel like everyone's Erin's best buds here, so they probably know everything.
Boris, is the event, it's tomorrow being, it will be recorded, and it's right now only the VIPs get the recording, but if you sign up under that QR code, I will make sure that you get a recording. This is last minute. Lou just decided this yesterday. I'm like, let's just do this. I want everybody to have an amazing 2026, and yeah, we'd love to have you come join us.
Erin, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I work in an office with 3 independent advisors, but we use the same DBA. Would the founders video need to be just with each of us separately, or how would that work? How would you recommend?
I can give you my answer, but I think Laura could give you her answer too. She's the expert on that. Typically, let me ask you, Debbie, are you just like sharing, are your clients your own, or do you share all the clients?
We each have our own book of business.
Okay, then you would want your own founders video.
Okay.
I'm nodding yes.
Yeah, sometimes if every client comes in is a client of the firm, then it makes sense to do either multiple videos or a firm video with the principals in it. But I think if your clients are yours solely, you would have your own founders video.
And we like to think about those founders videos as utility players. So how else can you use them? And when you heat map most advisory teams' websites, the #1 hottest place that people go is your homepage, and the second most hit pages are your bio pages. So putting those founder stories on each of your bio pages, then as people are discovering you, they're also hearing from you and getting to know you. And if LinkedIn is a primary platform for business development for you, then on your profile, you can also add that founder story to your featured section, because oftentimes when you go to search up an advisor, if they're active on LinkedIn, one of the top search results is actually their LinkedIn profile. So putting that video in all of those places gives you a lot more mileage.
But Debbie, you can also probably save yourself some money with your colleagues because you could buy one set of gear and share it across the office. So you can think about that too. Get everyone to buy in.
I see Nelson at a, do I do one-on-one training? I do one-on-one consulting, but it's very expensive. So I always say, go through my program. If you still have any questions, we do, because my program, as people go through it, we do live 2-hour live calls every single month where you submit your questions. I'm live. I'll answer every single question you have. But I do, I have some private consulting clients that hire me for, one-off situations. And you just have to contact my office and they could schedule that time with you.
Erin,
Erin,
I have oh, go ahead.
this is John Hanch. Quick question. Could you review real quick what's the cost? And then that QR code, could you put it on the screen again to sign up to get the video done? And what's the turnaround time that it takes to put together a story and videotape and all that?
Yeah, the cost is around $3,900, and that includes the gear that you do keep. So if you create more videos in the future, you get to keep that. The turnaround time is typically 6 weeks. If you have already worked with Erin's team and are walking in the door with your founder story script written, there is a discount for that. And the turnaround time just gets cut down a little bit, but it's typically 6 weeks between kickoff call and this video's compliance approved and ready to deploy into your process.
Okay, so just take a picture of this QR code that you have on the screen here to sign
Yeah,
up.
it will take you directly to, and I will be sending out a follow-up email later today with the replay and a link to Erin's offer and a link to this call. So if you don't grab the QR code right now, we can definitely send you that link.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Other questions?
Well, if not, I hope I see everybody tomorrow. It's good. Like I said, it'll be a game changer. And Laura, thank you. And Sharon, thank you for having me. It's always fun to hang out with you guys. I love the work that you do. And
You have energized me for 2026.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Take
All
care.
right, guys. See ya.